My name is Maddie Machado. I'm currently a rotational intern at LRT Sports. And here with me today, I have Coach Matthew Hurd.
How you do, Maddie? Great to see you today.
Awesome. Good to see you too. So Coach Hurd is currently the head coach of the Salve Regina's women's track and field team. So during his time at Salve, he has guided the Seahawks to win multiple conference championships. 2/3 of his athletes have broken school records. 11 of his athletes have qualified for NCAAs, and 2 of his athletes have been named All-American. Coach Hurd currently serves as treasurer and secretary on the New England Women's Division III Cross Country and Track and Field Association. So without further ado, Coach Hurd, if you wouldn't mind starting us off with describing your relationship with coaching.
This is my 17th year. My relationship with coaching, well, I had a friend once who had gone to, took a course at Boston College by a guy who was a great, known as a great teacher. And the first day he said, listen, if you think I'm going to teach you how to teach, forget it. Go and do something else. You're either born a teacher or you're not. And, you know, I have to say, I think I was born a teacher. I've taught in high school, you know, almost 30 years. And coaching is just an extension of teaching. It allows you to take your experiences in the sport that you love to do and just apply it and help other people. So it's a natural fit, and you know, it's just something that you look forward to every day.
That's awesome. I honestly couldn't have said it better myself. So piggybacking off of that, what made you want to start coaching?
Well, you know, there's some people who once they finish their collegiate career, if they're lucky to have one, or high school, that's it. You know, they just, I mean, I don't know what it would be. Maybe they were a great, I don't know, hockey player or something, and they're in Alabama and they've got no ice or something. But, you know, when you're coaching, you're able to stay in a sport that you love to do. I mean, I can't tell you, long about Thursday or Friday when we got a meet coming up on Saturday, you know, you start to bop around and get excited and look forward to it. I mean, you played a couple of games a week, so it was, you didn't have to wait quite as long as we do. But still, it's just so much fun because you work all week and then you go to the meet and you see your athletes do things that are really terrific and are the result of all the work they did. Like it's like a reward, you know, because, you know, in practice, when you swat one over the fence, there's instant gratification.
Yep.
We don't get any gratification until we get to the meet, you know, when we jump 16 feet or we have a great sprint time. So, you know, but it's so much fun, you know, to see all that, and then to see people improve. When you're in the up at the plate, if you've got a pitcher who is throwing all sorts of weird stuff and you just can't get a hold of it, it doesn't show you what these people can. There's nobody getting in the way, you know, they can just go ahead and do it. And it's just so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, so some background. I played softball at Salve, so Coach Hurd and I go way back. So those are some of those softball little tidbits thrown in there. You might have kind of already answered this question, but if you want to kind of elaborate on it, what is the most rewarding part of coaching for you?
I would say that the most rewarding thing, I mean, sometimes people just, you know, do something out of their shoes and you think, holy moly, I mean, that's exciting, you know, but when they're doing something that, you know, they really care about, you know, that they have a goal, or it's an event which is just so much them that they want to excel, and they do, you know, they either meet their goals or they exceed them, and you just say, that's terrific, you know, I mean, so happy for them. They're happy, I'm happy. If they're upset, well, I'm not saying I'm upset, but at least I'm not happy, obviously. You have to go and console them, and that's not so exciting. But when they really meet or exceed their objectives, and I know it's because they worked hard and they care about it, that's the exciting thing. That's what makes athletics so spectacular. And track and field is a great way to get there because it's an individual sport. So you can look at one person and know what one person wants to do. And, it's a partnership between the coach and the athlete. Together, we work toward that goal. And then if it happens, it's tremendous.
That's awesome. I totally understand what you're saying about getting that like reward aspect of being a coach. So for athletes wanting to come join the Salve women's track and field team, what advice do you have for them? What can they work on? Like, what are you looking for in an athlete?
Well, I'm looking for an athlete who's good. But yeah, we don't have any like performance thresholds or anything.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell them is we want to see three things. We want you to love your sport. We want you to be able to work or be willing to work hard. And I'm not saying we're going to kill you in practice, but work hard to do help you become the best athlete you can be. And then by extension, you'll help the team. If everybody is performing at their best, obviously the team is going to be as good as it can be. And the third thing is just to be a good athletic citizen. And, as an athlete, you know what that means. Yeah. That means you're at practice on time or even before time. Mm-hmm. You're willing to get up at 8:30 for a class in order to clear practice time in the afternoon. You support your teammates, all the kinds of things that make just a normal person an athlete, and it's not just physical ability. That's very useful, but it's all the things that help each other. For instance, you could get somebody who is I won't say they're a sprinter, but they're someone who sprints. Mm-hmm. If you can sort of get the difference. Yep. They're not running 12.5, they're running 15.5. But if they're at practice every day, if they support their teammates, if they're charged up and ready to go, and they work hard, and they go from 15.5 to 14.5, and their teammates say, holy moly, look at her. She's got virtually no ability, and she's so better. If she can do that, I sure as heck can do better. They just lift everybody on the team by what they do, and they're never going to score, but they help everybody else. So those are the three things. And, if you can do that, then we'd love to have you, because, track and field is really kind of a relationship thing. I think all sports are, but there are some that are more than others. Mm-hmm. Track and field is like an individual with an individual. And you look and see, okay, this is what this person has. This is the kind of person that person is. And boy, I just love to come to practice because she's there. And, I just get so much fun, what a charge out of just her being her. And, it's that's all you got to have.
It's awesome. So what is the piece of advice, that you would give your younger self about coaching?
Well, I can give you a brief vignette. I was at a meet, and one of my throwers was in the shot circle, and she gets off a good throw. And I turned to her and said, you know what? I have no idea how far that thing went, but I got to tell you, that was a good looking throw. And she looked at me, and then she turned to her teammates and said, did you hear that? Mr. Hurt gave me a compliment. I thought, oh crap, am I that stingy? And from then on, I said, okay, I got to get better, because we can all look at athletes and say, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. But they have what's called the coaching sandwich, which is, you know what I really like about you? You do all these things well. Now, if we can just work on this and, clear this up and get better at this, you will be fantastic. Mm-hmm. So you give them something that they can be happy about and proud of, and then you just give them a little more, and they work on it like crazy because they know the reward is there. Mm-hmm. And I've seen coaches who were really good, and athletes who were perfectionists, and all they do is just say, no, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. And you can see the team sort of go up and up and up for about 2/3 of the season. And then they just take a nosedive because they just can't stand the negativity. Mm-hmm. So as a coach, I think you really have to emphasize the positive. And Ed Habershaw, our sports information director, yep. Mr. Positivity. He's always got a smile on his face. His tennis players could whiff, or get crushed, but he would always have something good to say to them. And I think as a coach, as an athlete, and as a coach, we always have to keep that in mind, that we have to stay positive, because the difference between being successful and failure and being a failure could be just this much. Mm-hmm. I know that's true in track, in the sprints, if you lose to somebody by this much, that's 100th of a second, if it's a negative environment in which you're practicing or competing, that's the difference. So we really have to remember that we have to stay positive. And the other thing is, we have always to remember, and I would say this is perhaps a little more true with women, but it's true with guys as well. Athletes have to know that you care about them. Mm-hmm. They have to know that your main priority is to support them, help them do as well as they can. Because, if you call a timeout, for instance, and your players all come over and you look at them and they're all eyes are on you, that means, they're bought in. They want to hear what you have to say. If someone's tying their shoe, if someone's looking at the scoreboard, if someone's talking to a neighbor, then you think, oh, crumb, they haven't bought in. If they know that their coach cares about them and won't hurt them, won't injure them by massive workouts or something, and workouts that are more for the coach than for the athlete. I'm really doing this, I'm a great coach, or 5 hours of batting practice, boy, they better be able to hit the ball. Then they know, okay, so it's safe for me to invest all that I have in my coach. So, both those things, you got to be positive, and athletes have to know that you care about them and are primarily interested in their success. Because if they're good and everybody else is good, the team will be good. But if they know that you see them only as a means of scoring points or runs or whatever, then he doesn't care about me. Mm-hmm. So, and you play because you love the sport, and, if you quit, then you're really unhappy. But still, the results the team gets are not as good. And it's ironic, because the coach is looking the coach says, I'm a good coach because my record is this. But the record comes with being a good coach, not because, you think that there are some other measurements that other people use. And of course, our society does look at those. They do say, what a great coach. Look at his record. But they don't know what goes on inside.
Absolutely. What has coaching taught you?
Well, I think coaching has taught me that it's important to understand people, so that when you communicate with them, you are effective. It's there are a lot of people who will tell you things, but there are not that many people who ask you things.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to know if I have some advice. I think I've got some advice for you, but the first thing I want to know is, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? For instance, if I were coaching basketball and my player just did something, or soccer, or one of those sports which is in constant evolution, you know, I would, and my player did something really bizarre, or I would, instead of saying, oh, you should have done this, my first question, I think, would be, what did you see? You know, what were you looking at? Because I need to get inside your head and look through your eyes to see what you're seeing, to get an idea as to how you're approaching things, how you're seeing things. And then, you know, I can be more effective in helping you see a bigger field or a bigger court, or maybe adjusting your objectives, you know, the rules that you use when you're trying to decide what to do this or do that. Because so often we just sort of coach or work with people based on what we want to tell them, without having any idea as to whether or not it's effective, because they're approaching it from a totally different angle. So yeah, and the other thing I think is sometimes it's a good idea to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you may want to say something, but okay, not the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll wait till later when I can sense that, because they say there's a teaching moment. So you can want to tell somebody something, but if they're not in a mood where they are ready to listen, then there's no point in telling them. You got to wait until they really want the answer, and then you have the opportunity. So it's just those ways of working with people and knowing them and figuring out, okay, how is the most effective way to communicate with them, and trust them, because if you ask them a question, 9 times out of 10 they'll give you a great answer. It'll be an answer that is genuine and reflects them, and then you learn about them, and you also learn, okay, now I know how my athlete thinks, or you know, how she approaches things. I mean, if she rounds first base and the ball is coming in from the outfield and it's 3/4 of the way to second, and then she takes off, she's churning for second, and say, what? You know, didn't you see? Which is, coach, I'm fast, I could have made it. You know, okay, so now I know how she thinks. You know, and we can work on that. But if I tell her she's a moron or an idiot, you know, for taking what is obviously going to be an out,
Mm-hmm.
You know, that might not be the best way to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome insight. So we're going to wrap this up. My last question for you today is, I want you to talk about a time an athlete inspired you.
Well, I had a 400-meter hurdler about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, who came in and came in. She had, you know, she was a good 100-meter hurdler, good 400-meter hurdle. She was short, you know, maybe 5'4", which, to be honest, isn't great stature for a hurdler. You know, hurdles are 33 inches, and that was, and also you really have to push hard between each hurdle, because you only got 3 strides in between if you want to be good. And she also had shin splints, so she had all these things going against her. And the last meet of the season, or one of our seasons, she was really upset. She wasn't doing well, and so in the 400-meter hurdles, she just said, bleep it, you know. And we said, you know, let's take the first 100 meters a little faster, because, you know, time you lose there, you can't make up, or you got to beat people to make it up. So let's just try to get some in the bank. And she did well. And boy, oh boy, she looked like $1 million, just floating, just, you know, driving. She comes around the turn and she finishes in a school record, but in a time that qualified her for our New England championships, and was just a fly speck off national qualifying.
Wow.
And it was one of those things where it just came out of nowhere. But she said, this is it. I'm going to make it or break it, and she did. And it was just one of those things where the human spirit just, boom, explodes. It just comes out. And you say, gosh darn it, she's tremendous.
That's awesome. Coach Hurd, it takes a really great coach to pull that out of an athlete.
Well, okay, thank you.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Well, thank you so much Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. It was such a pleasure talking to you and learning from you.